it's like an emotional
Yeah.
bondage and mental bondage. If I don't save me, how can I ever go and try to, pull them out of anything? So the dynamic of our society is just changing in a way that requires us to change the way that we do housing. Number one, breaking generational curses, because there's a lot of those. And number two, actually just showing my younger siblings that I have 4 younger siblings, what's possible.
Hello, welcome back to The Couch with Joy and Friends. Y'all, I know y'all probably looking around. No, the girls aren't here. They're on a break. But they will be back. But in the meantime, I still want you guys to subscribe to the channel like you always do. And make sure you share this video with at least 2 people while it's going on. When it's done, if you go back a week from today, make sure that you sending this love out to people. And make sure that you got your notifications on so you can get this love every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m. And y'all, there's a cute little money symbol down there in the live chat. If you press on that money symbol, it'll give you a few options to donate money to this podcast, because we need y'all help, okay? And it's not that we just need y'all help, but this costs. The cameras, the production, all of it, right? And your support goes a long way, even if it's 99 cents. So make sure y'all supporting the podcast, because y'all love it. Y'all receiving this good information. Y'all receiving this love. And y'all in the DM every day getting advice. So make sure y'all can see the girl 99 cent down there. And make sure y'all are dropping those green hearts so I can see you. And come over to the live chat. Come on over to the live chat and talk to me, okay? And today, I have a special guest, because all of my guests are amazing, okay? Spectacular people who are light to this earth that come to drop some knowledge for y'all to elevate your lives in a ton of ways, right? So today, I have Miss Precious on the couch with me.
Just a nice couch, y'all.
Girl, I love this couch. When I saw it, I
Yes.
said, this is the podcast couch. I gotta go get these. So definitely. And they had little cute chairs to match and everything. And I was like,
looking
gotta
at that
have it.
too. Yeah.
So I appreciate it. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for this conversation. This is amazing. This
Thank you.
space you've created for real.
Thank
is
you.
Amazing.
Thank you. I try to make it real zenny so people
That's
feel
the word
comfortable.
I was using.
Mhm.
All the green and come on now. Yes. Green.
love it.
I wouldn't say green is my favorite color, but it is a very profound color.
Yes.
It's so much meaning behind green.
And it's intentional for this season.
Yes.
And I tell people, they was like, are you always going to be green? I was like, right now, that's just kind of where God got me.
Yeah.
And if it turned to orange, y'all will see that too.
We'll see. Exactly. Y'all gonna be all right. Y'all gonna flow along with it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's green. But Miss Precious, if y'all do not know this face, this name that's been going around the world, okay? That means you've been under a rock, okay? So this is, I call her, and this is my name. So ABC, CNN, all of the news stations. She is the tiny home queen. And there are other people, everybody in the world doing tiny homes. Okay, we know that, but she's a tiny home queen to me. So fight me if you want to. Okay. And the reason why I say that is because she was 26 years old. She's 27 now, 26 years old, paid $0 to live in a luxury tiny home for $35,000. She paid $35,000 and put it in her backyard. And I said her backyard.
Thank you for the clarification.
Her. Okay? Not somebody else's backyard, her backyard, y'all. So she was owning a home and looked out and said, there's a lot of room back there. And built a tiny home. Okay?
Yes.
And before we get into, because it's called the Kolk escape, y'all. Okay, the Kolk escape.
Yeah.
And before we get into that, I really want her to introduce herself and tell the world who Precious is in the journey to get into this part. And what you came to deposit in this earth.
Yes, and I love that question. That's a very, again, intentional question. So Precious Price, wow. Okay, so I'm from Chicago. I'll start there. From Chicago.
Some of the best food in the world, by the way.
Come on, I just got back. And I re-upped on all of my fixings. But from Chicago, South Side specifically, oldest of 5, first generation everything. And I would say that's a lot of where I got my roots, raised by my mother and my father, both of whom are pure Chicago hustlers
Okay. Okay.
through and through Chicago hustlers.
Mhm.
And I would say that's where I got a lot of my grit from as
Mhm.
well. So having four younger siblings, always kind of leading that path, kind of marking the new path,
Mhm.
honestly. But taking care of them is what got me here, I want to say. Like
Okay.
everything that I do has always been in light of my family, in
Mhm.
light of, like, number one, breaking generational curses.
Mhm.
Because there's a
Yeah.
lot of those. And number two, actually just showing my younger siblings that I have four younger siblings, what's possible.
Mhm.
And at this point, like, I'm beginning to surprise myself.
Come on.
I'm beginning to surprise myself with what I have been able to accomplish, what
Yeah.
I have been able to, again, just take advantage of within the spaces that I've occupied,
Mhm.
and spaces, honestly, that never in a million years, when I was the little Black girl in Chicago, and we trying to make ends
Mhm.
meet and family here, and again, just like, I don't know, just so much growth. I never would have imagined that at this age of 27 that I would be here,
Mhm.
with the experiences that I've had. Never in a million years. Because where I'm from, and even when I go back, I told you I just came back.
Mhm.
Going home is a lot of emotions for me.
Oh.
But going back, I'm always reminded, and I'm always forced to kind of step into a sense of gratitude of, like,
Mhm.
wow, like, I am one of those people who I made it out. Like, I broke the curse.
Mhm.
And I'm so, so grateful for that. So that's like really like the root of everything. From Chicago, we ended up moving to Northwest Indiana. Many people are familiar with Michael Jackson, where Michael Jackson is
Mhm.
from, basically. So that's where we were, and that's where I was able to go to high school. And then from there, I actually graduated high school in 3 years. Immediately went to college because I was running from something. What?
Mm.
And you know that saying, everywhere you go, there
Mhm.
you are.
Yep.
Whew. Yes, I ended up meeting myself everywhere I
Oh,
went,
wow.
but and we can talk about that as well, but
Mhm.
ended up meeting myself everywhere I went. And from leaving high school early, immediately going on, I went on to Indiana University, studied business, got my bachelor's, got my master's, and did some really amazing things. And immediately I knew I wanted to come to Atlanta.
Mhm.
Atlanta was just like, for some reason, there was this desire, this longing that I always had
Mhm.
of seeing myself as a boss, like, executive woman running things, running her own business
Ooh.
in the city of Atlanta,
Mhm.
like, just taking over. And again, just having good warm weather. That was
Mhm.
something that I knew I needed.
Mhm.
So came here, and from there, everything has just honestly been rolling. Like, there's so much that I've skipped over, but like, things have been rolling. My background is in marketing. Traditionally, people know me as a tiny house girl now,
Mhm.
tiny house queen, however you want to deem it. But I actually started my career in marketing
Nice.
and consulting management, like management consulting,
Mhm.
and technology as well.
Okay.
So I was doing all of that at like this large global consulting firm. Then in the midst of that, I always had my own businesses or my own
Mhm.
hustles from, like, again, my parents instilled that in us. In high
Yeah.
school, middle school even, I'm doing hair, I'm selling
Yeah.
candy, snacks.
Okay.
Got to college, I started reselling, like Ralph Lauren sweaters,
Mhm.
Uggs. Like, I would get them at clearance on discount, and then boom, I'm reselling them on campus.
Wow.
And then once I got to campus, I started to kind of realize, like, okay, I'm raised by hustlers.
Mhm.
I myself considered myself a
Mhm.
hustler. I still do, right? But I started to realize that all of my life I don't want to hustle.
Mm.
And I see that within my family, my parents, my specifically my mom, of like just hustling and expending so much energy for this money that really doesn't mean a whole lot once you
Mhm.
get it.
Mhm.
And that's when I realized, I'm like, okay, I don't want to do all of the hustling. So how can I use the information and the knowledge that's in my head to make some money? On campus, that then became me actually like charging my peers for like to edit their resumes,
Ugh.
redo their LinkedIn's, help them
Mhm.
with interviews. So more of like a professional branding.
Mhm.
And as college then went on, it turned into personal branding because
Mhm.
I started to brand myself online. I started speaking, getting speaking
Oh,
engagements, getting
wow.
paid for things.
Mhm.
And they saw that and they're like, okay, well, how can you help me?
Mhm.
And started doing that. And then at that point, the personal branding came along. And then that's when like marketing really became the thing that I was doing through and through with branding. And that led me into speaking. And honestly, I will say I'm just now starting to realize, but that's what led to so much success with everything I've been doing in the real estate and tiny
Mhm.
house space is the marketing
Right.
behind all of it.
Mhm.
So that's me in a nutshell.
And I mean, it's a huge nutshell. Okay. I'm very proud of you. Even just going back and looking at all the things that you've accomplished in this 26, 27 years is
Yes.
absolutely amazing. And I know it's God. It's God all day. Listen,
Through and through.
it's light and favor all over you.
Through and
Okay.
through.
And let's do this. So you got a tiny home. What inspired you to build a tiny home, and what are some of the main benefits of doing so? That you
So the inspiration really came from I just wanted a space for just myself. And COVID had made it to where I was in this, to me, it was a big old house, three
Mhm.
bedroom, 2.5 bathrooms. And I'm like, I'm in my master bedroom. And I'm like, look, somebody might be in the other bedroom on the other side of the house.
So wait,
I'm
wait. And how old were you when you moved into when you bought your first home?
When I bought my first home, I was 23,
Okay.
22 or 23,
So
2019.
and you were living there alone
Mm-hmm.
in this big old house.
Yeah, yes, yeah. And the thing
I
is,
love it.
so
I love it.
so my mother is actually who like was the one that pushed me. The moment
Mhm.
that I moved to Atlanta, she's like, you need to buy a house. Don't go paying all of that rent. Go
Oh
buy a house.
yeah.
I didn't listen.
Mhm.
I had my apartment in Buckhead and I was paying all of that rent.
But you
And
was
when
paying like 3.
it it wasn't 3, it was like 2.
Oh,
It
okay.
was still it was all
Okay.
right. It was like 2. But it was still too much.
Yep.
Too much.
Mhm.
So after about 6 or 7 months, I'm like, okay, this is a little much. And then on top of that, again, I started my career in consulting. So Monday through Thursday, I was never there.
Ooh.
So now I'm paying and I'm realizing like, okay, I'm paying this money for something that I'm not even really getting to enjoy. The pool and the gym and all of these nice amenities, I don't get to enjoy them. That's what actually then got me into like real estate officially in the short-term rental game because I started renting my apartment on Airbnb.
Mm.
So when I started renting my apartment on Airbnb, I'm like, okay, this is doing well. Like now that little $2,000, that's covered. We good, we fine. But I didn't even realize like, okay, this I can't just do this. Like, even though I pay for this apartment, this isn't like mine. I don't own this.
Right.
So they don't want me doing this because now I'm subletting, I'm doing all of these
Mhm.
things. So I got a little note on the door and they're like, yeah, no, you can't be doing this.
Right.
So that's literally what then pushed me to say, like, okay, well, I'm about to get a house because if I made this much money from just a 1 bedroom apartment
That I don't own.
that I don't own,
Mhm.
imagine how much I can make if I get an entire house, I rent that, and I can do whatever I
Yeah.
want with it.
Mhm.
So that's what inspired me to get the house. And when I was buying the house, um, honestly, the large backyard was just a seller for me. But at the time, I didn't know that it was a tiny house that I wanted to do. I'm
Mhm.
like, I know I'm gonna do something with this. Like,
Mhm.
my mom's like, do a pool.
Do a pool. That's so
Do a
funny.
pool. And I'm like, nah, that's not gonna work. So I was sitting on the backyard because I purchased my first home. I purchased that house in October of 2019.
Okay.
And COVID then hit March 2020. So it was about 6 months in when the realization then came of like, I should put a house back there because I can rent it out. I can live in it.
Mhm.
Number one, I can rent this main house out if I do, or I can switch it around and I could live in the house and I can rent that out.
Mhm.
And then on top of that, it would be space to help my family transition into Atlanta as well once that time
Wow.
comes. Like my siblings, because for me, I'm so grateful that I got. Like
Mhm.
your environment plays a huge part into everything, your
Mhm.
mindset, your perspective, like whatever you achieve. So it was so important for me to get out, but I started to realize that for a lot of my family, Chicago is all they know.
Mhm.
Illinois is all they know. We might go to Wisconsin Dells, just one time, but
Mhm.
that's all they know. So I
Mhm.
wanted my siblings to get out. And that was like, those were some of the benefits that then came into my mind of like, okay, I can make money from this. If anything ever hits the fan, I can always move in here. Like
Mhm.
if life just starts happening, I can then go and move in there. And then on top of that, for my family, I'm able to provide space for them to help them easily transition into the adult world because I didn't have that easy transition. So really just creating that space for them, like those are the major benefits.
Look at you.
Yeah,
You better be a modern day Moses. Come on out. Come on out of Chicago, she said.
Please.
So you said when you go though, and I hear you saying, I made it out, and you get emotional about it.
Yes.
So what is it that makes you so emotional about home?
Home comes with a ton of emotions. I don't even know how to package it all into the short conversation we have today. But for me, I would say it's a lot of lack of healing for so many generations that then is pushed on to the next. And then from there, like, you're just lack of communication, not really knowing how to navigate real personal relationships, and even navigate conflict. Like my family, even how we're sitting here talking right now, I remember I first got to college and I would have conversations with people and they would always say like, why are you yelling? Because
we literally just had this conversation 2 minutes. I was you, okay? My baby, he used to be like, "Why are you yelling at me?" This how we talk.
Like literally, this is how we talk. And then like talking over each other, and you don't even realize that it's
happening.
That it's happening. That this is like, oh, this is not a proper way to communicate.
No,
I didn't even realize.
Oh, I went back to my family one time. I went back to my mom. Y'all taught us wrong.
Oh,
and she was like, we taught y'all wrong. I said, yes, because y'all didn't teach me how to talk. Y'all didn't teach me how to listen. Y'all didn't. And it just, so I feel you, but I recognize too, I had to go back and I apologize to my parents for that before y'all get in my DMs. That's all they knew.
It's all they, exactly. And I think that's the piece that comes with so many heavy emotions for me when I do go back home, is it's like, this is all y'all know. And I so badly want you to know more, to be exposed to more, because even since like the last 10 years of my life have been insane, because this year marks 10 years since I graduated high school. I left and I never went back. Like I didn't go back for the summers, and like I did an internship, I did this, I did that. So all of these experiences that I've had within these last 10 years have allowed me to like have better relationships. And I didn't realize how much what I had learned in my upbringing was straining the relationships and the friendships that I maybe could have had, or even that I have now that I've been able to preserve. So that's what makes it so hard. And then for me, like there's a 7-year gap between my sister that's immediately after me. So I basically, like, I had a heavy hand in raising my siblings. So it's really hard when I do go back and I see them still in that environment and seeing how it's like affecting them emotionally as well, and just their outlook and their perspective on life being so young. And it's just hard. It's hard. And then I would say maybe a few years ago, because I've always like, and this is something that I've like talked through with a mentor, a therapist, all of that, of like wanting to be this savior for your family. Like wanting to, okay, well, just see it, just come, just going back. Oh my God, I remember in college, just going back and trying to have conversations and sit down like, okay, but you can't do that. And I would say 2 years ago was when I really realized, I'm like, if I don't save myself, and not even like a save physically, because I got out 10 years ago. It's like an emotional bondage and mental bondage. If I don't save me, how can I ever go and try to, pull them out of anything? So those are just like a bit of the emotions around it that come. And even now it's very hard, because I mentioned I'm now expecting my first nephew. And it's super exciting, but at the same time, it's also just like,
here's another generation.
Exactly.
In this. Well, I can say this to you, that your light is bright enough and you're powerful enough to live a life that people can see, and they'll change from what they see. And if they don't, they ain't got nothing to do with you. And listen, if they don't, I had that was one of my biggest struggles, and one of my mentors told me that it was my ego. That she said, Joy, you got to drop that ego. She was like, why do you want something so great for her that she doesn't want for herself? And I had to step back and go, Because that's my friend, that's my sister. I can't be living this life. I can't go to the grocery store and buy everything I want and she's still struggling. That's my sister. And she was like, but the same way you got up and did what you need to do, everybody has the same opportunity to get up and get it. So you keep being that bright light that you keep being. Seriously, because if I'm watching you and I'm not even a part of your family, and I know it's been an inspiration because I also want a wellness center, and my wellness center, I just talked to my dad about it, because we own some land, and I don't want to put too much of the details out, but they're literally the same size home that you have.
Yes.
And I just needed a few to make my wellness center. And watching when Babe brought your name up, I was like, she's for me. I said, she is for me.
Yes.
This is what I want. It was like God ordained, because this is exactly what I needed to hear, needed to know. Because when my dad was asking me, so how much does it cost? And I was like, I can look it up. I'm going to go check them out. And you put all the information out there.
Yeah, everything out there. That's one thing I've always done is document the journey, because I knew that at some point I'm like, I'm going to pull myself out of whatever this is.
Yeah.
And I want to see the progress. I want to see the change.
Yeah.
And that documenting and just like giving it, because once everybody else has that knowledge too, like you said, it allows you, rather than telling somebody what to do, you show them how to change.
Yeah.
You show them how to do it.
And that's what you're doing. So I'm praying for you and your family to come on out. Look. And
yes.
And if they don't stress yourself.
Yeah.
Keep loving them.
I'm five years in Atlanta this year, and I've been banging and saying, and now I'm like, I ain't even gonna say it no more. You see it.
Yep.
You see what it's done for me. Please come.
Yep. Okay. So what advice would you give to someone who's considering building a tiny home but doesn't have a lot of experience with construction or design?
Do your research, number one, and then check over everything that you're doing and the work that you are like paying people for, the people that you're bringing on, like 3, 4, 5 times, if not more. Check on all of that, because so many, like a lot of people tend to underestimate, oh, it's just a tiny house. But it's like, it's still a tiny house that in a sense, it has to have everything that a house does. Plumbing, water, electricity, all of these things. Just because it's tiny means nothing.
Right.
So just make sure that you are like properly doing your research, and whoever you are bringing on, I'm not going to say trust it, because in any type of contractor homeowner relationship or what have you, there isn't typically a lot of trust. But at the very least, have someone who you've seen previous work before, and you know that they are good. You know that you can hold them to a certain standard. That is what I will say, because for those that may have seen my docuseries, I went in for just a tiny house. I went through 3 sets of contractors, because it was so much going on, and people are saying that they're underestimating it themselves. Like, well, yeah, I can do something like that, when you've never done something like this before. So just check over time and time again. That would be my number one piece of advice. And then just make sure that this is actually something that you could do. Like, I know that in this era, especially with where housing is and the real estate market is, so many people are talking about tiny homes. So many people are talking about ADUs, accessory dwelling units, and creative housing structures. And when you see them about, it's easy to think like, okay, yes, I'm going to do that. Make sure that this is something that within your area, your county, your city, that you are actually zoned to do.
Oh, so you have to be zoned to do this?
Exactly. Zoning is one of the very first things that you should be doing research on if this is something that you are interested in. How is the land that you have zoned? Because unbeknownst to me, and just what I didn't realize when I started the process, I'm like, okay, like, let's get started doing research. And I started doing research, and I'm like, just because I bought this land, I still can't do what I want.
Right.
It's still not just mine. Right. It's still not mine. I still don't have free agency over it. So just make sure that, like, within your zoning code, accessory dwelling units, or even tiny homes, these types of structures are something that you can absolutely do, because there are people within your community, whether neighbors or whoever, that like, for some reason, they just don't like change. And the moment that they see a new project coming about, they just,
Not in my neighborhood. Not on my street.
Yep. Not in my backyard. Yes, absolutely.
Because it's some cute tiny homes, and me and my best friends actually stayed at one Downtown Decatur, I want to say.
Yes. Downtown Decatur.
I want to say.
I haven't been to the one in downtown Decatur. There's a community out not East Point, downtown Atlanta, the historic district, Martin
Okay.
Luther King. What area is that?
That's like fourth. No, what?
It's not Fourth Ward.
Is it Edgewood?
Edgewood.
Edgewood.
Yes,
There we
I knew
go.
it started with an E.
Look, I'm from here. Y'all don't take my ATL
Edgewood.
card yet. Edgewood.
Edgewood. There's one in Edgewood, but I haven't been to one or seen one in Decatur. And then that micro home community that has now just come about in South Atlanta.
Oh, I need to see this.
Yeah, you haven't seen it?
Not in South Atlanta, no.
You have to see it. So this is the one. Honestly, it's been getting a whole lot of press on social media. Like the people that say like, oh, there's like a tiny home community in Atlanta, this is the one that they're typically talking about. Because they did an amazing job, honestly. But all Black team, like Black developers, like it's a Black guy behind it. I believe his name is Booker Washington. But just amazing what they're bringing to the community. And again, because they're taking advantage of these changing zoning codes and these changing regulations that we have, because so many cities are understanding that like we're strapped for housing. So how can we create more with less? So that's basically what they're doing.
That's so dope.
It's really, really dope. And for some people, right? Like some people are like, well, why would I do a tiny house? And this just goes to show that we just keep getting less and less for our money. No. Understand that. So traditionally, housing is like many things in America, but housing is, a little racist. Like the things that we have, like redlining, all of these things.
I learned it in real estate class. I was like, redlining. I was like, they not giving us loans. I said, wait a minute.
All of it, right? And it's like, in even the way that we think about what typically is, or what we would envision when we say the American dream. Right. It's usually this like suburban house with a white picket fence, and you got the dog and then the job. And it's just very, like just one way, like there's one route, but not understanding that like our society has changed so much in the last couple of 100 years to where everybody isn't necessarily desiring, okay, I want the nice, just one job with a family, and, I want to go to work, come back, eat dinner. Like some people I want to travel, for the rest of my life, and I want to do this and that. So the dynamic of our society is just changing in a way that requires us to change the way that we do housing. Yeah. And it's not just like get a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom house. So when I think and I talk about tiny homes and accessory dwelling units for people, and I think about the people that it works the best for, these are single folks. Like I'm saying, I ain't got no kids.
And they look cute on y'all. The YouTube, she look cute sitting outside on that little porch. I'm telling you,
it's perfect.
It's
Singles.
Cute.
Students, like college students, collegiate students, they need more affordable housing and not just like a little room dormed up that's dark and, cold. And then seniors, because they're wanting, like we're seeing so much more within the last couple years as well, like multi-generational living, meaning that they're moving their parents back in, or they're moving in with their parents just to get the help that they need, either like physically or financially. So these structures, like there's a specific type of group that it works for, even if you feel like it doesn't necessarily work for you, it's still needed for a certain group of our population.
Oh, okay. Okay, what do you hope to achieve with your work in helping others build and live in tiny homes? And what drives you to continue doing this work for us? Because we need you. We need you, girl.
So for me, I always like to say that like my mission is really within the Black community, urban community, and specifically helping them to achieve more financial literacy that can lead to financial independence. And that's what I believe like ADUs are really going to do for a lot of people, like even when we put race aside. But that's my overall mission, is how do we achieve more financial literacy through like rethinking the way that we do real estate? Because the way that we've been doing real estate up until this point is, and I love Monopoly. Don't get me wrong, but it's like a game of Monopoly. Get all of the houses that you can, get them for yourselves. I want 100 doors here, this, that, and you want to charge the most so that you can keep the most. But we need to rethink the way that we're doing that, because the way that we've been doing that has now caused us, or placed us in this position that we're in now, of not having enough housing, because so many people are hoarding and so many people are focusing just on the profits. So I really want to bring more of a sense of community or help people to understand that you have more agency within your community, within your your city. In doing something like this allows you to, I guess, in a sense, put the commune back into community, even if that means you're putting like someone in your family is housed there. Even if you don't want to have a stranger in your backyard, this is someone in your family, but it allows you to just live closer and have a bit of codependence, because there's so many articles on this, but like we're living in an era now where like loneliness is at an all-time high.
It's high.
Because everybody I want to do it by myself. I want to be by myself. And then COVID did not help
at all.
So it's just like bringing something like this allows you to, again, be in community with people while also working toward financial independence of you're renting it out, or you might be saving money by living there yourself, but it allows you to take that next step. Because for me, when I look at my journey over the last few years, it always like the last thing rolled into the new thing. So the money that I had been making from my apartment and renting that out, that then went for a down payment to the house. Any money that I was making from the house, that then went into the project cost for the actual tiny house and accessory dwelling unit. And all of that has now led me and catapulted me into this position of being able to use that money to say, okay, well, yeah, like next month makes 2 years since I officially like quit my 9 to 5.
Come on.
And I've been working for myself. But that is what allowed me to do that. So it's just smaller steps, understanding that these smaller steps are what leads to that ultimate financial independence that we all want.
That's dope. I love it. I have to, y'all don't, excuse my pauses. I like to take it in. Wow. Okay. Okay. So how long did it take to start the tiny home and then finish it? How long was that process?
Yes. So the structure got delivered because I did a shed to ADU conversion. And ADU stands for accessory dwelling unit. When you looking in your zoning code and you want to do something like I did, that is the term.
Okay.
All of us tend to say tiny house, but the official term is ADU or accessory dwelling unit. And that's what you look for in your zoning code. The shed structure got delivered in October. So the end of October of 2020. And then we completed everything officially, and it got up for rent and listed in March of 2021. So 6 months. And that's including 3 shifts of contractors.
So say for instance, if somebody's out there, right, and they're watching, do you consult still? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And do you know how do I put this? Do they pay you to say, hey, use us to contract? Or are you affiliated with anyone? If someone says, hey, I need contractors that you trust?
Yes. So I actually, I run marketing for an organization that's based out in the West Coast in California. And they pretty much help people through that end-to-end process of plans and permits all the way through completing the project build. So I'm partnered with them because I have a company which is called Landdrift, and we focus on education and awareness around creative housing structures like ADUs.
Okay.
And then they are pretty much our partner who actually help with the execution and making it happen.
So y'all thinking about it? If you're serious,
and again, if you're even just exploring, like this is, again, like you mentioned, I put all of the information out there. So if you want to just explore a little bit more, learn a little bit more about the process, go to my YouTube. Like you can go to land.rift on Instagram. There's a ton of information that I just put up and I publish around what this process looks like. And then when you're actually ready to have a conversation on what this means for you, or you want to talk through like your zoning code, I do consultations. And then from there, like we can go ahead and we can actually do a whole report of how do you make something like this happen? What's the cost? What do you need? Who you need to be in contact with? And what are the permits going to look like? Because this is something that, again, it needs to happen. And I'm so glad that so many cities are overturning their zoning codes because they are inherently racist. They are inherently, it's a term called exclusionary zoning, meaning that they're excluding certain people. So when we go and we actually move into, I'm throwing a lot of terms, but like actually going to like what's called missing middle housing, which means it's not just like a large apartment building and a single family home. Everything that sits in between there, a duplex, a triplex, a courtyard of an apartment. We don't have as many of those as we should in many urban cities and communities. And that's what we need. And ADUs fall into there as well.
Okay.
So yeah.
You better be a powerhouse. And help us. Seriously, I can't thank you enough. Before we go though, I got to ask a question.
Yeah.
And this is just a personal question for the people. What is something about you that people don't know that you want them to know?
People don't know. I would say that I am. I feel like people don't know this, but like I am extremely like self-aware and like introspective. So I really feel like a major piece of why I've been able to do everything that I have done is because I've took so much intentional time to learn myself and my triggers and my traumas and my desires and my aspirations. And then that is what leads me or allows me to, I guess, create some type of game plan on how I can actually get to where I want to be. So like a lot of people, I feel like they may not pick that up, but then again, I could just be not realizing.
But she letting y'all know that she thought about it.
Yes,
This is
I thought
all-
about all. It's all like it's already written. I always say that I'm a firm believer in divine alignment, and I believe that everything is connected, and there is no such thing as coincidences.
Come on.
So
I love it. Thank you for coming to the couch.
thank you for having me. I appreciate
No,
it.
I really love it. For real. Because I can't wait. Like I promise you the space, the tiny home that you have, I promise you it's just ideal for what we were doing, what going to do. So you are an answered prayer for real. For real.
Yes.
So we thank God for you. And y'all got all the nuggets. Her information will be in the description. And do yourself a favor and follow her. Follow her and get this love is what I say over here. So you can elevate and get into another stream of income in some type of way, okay? So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And y'all, no matter what you do, no matter where you go, no matter how you grow, there's always room for you right here on the couch. See you next time. Peace.
Hey man, you a fool for this one?